Good morning. This is our very first episode of the new format I'm currently testing out here at ProcurementZen. And today we're going to talk about the procurement role after the crisis of COVID. But before that, let's just quickly kick off the intro.
Are you looking to up your negotiation and procurement skills? You're in the right place. Welcome to Procurement Zen with your host, Phil Kowalski.
All right, before we dive into the topic, maybe a few words about this new format. I have called it the ProcurementZen Experience, and it is live. It is both on YouTube and our podcast. It is uncut, it is rough, it is opinionated. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure that you subscribe. No, the other way around, this one here. So you see, it's really uncut. Make sure to subscribe. And today we're talking about what has changed for us buyers, for us procurement managers after the COVID-19 crisis. So I think some things that have occurred in the past already, we're no longer sincere, and even before the crisis, we're no longer just the cost cutters that say, well, 10% more is always possible. We are basically a value adder already before the crisis, but the crisis has maybe has shown that this has become even more important now, because we also need to do one of our other very classical tasks, and we need to ensure that we can secure the supply chain. If you just look at the time of this recording, mid of July 2021, at the electronics market, or also on the heavy impact that the Ever Given incident in the Suez Canal had. So this really shows where we from procurement provide value to the table of our company. And quite honestly, we ourselves, we procurement people, might have seen this way already for quite some time, but what has changed maybe drastically over the past 18 months is that now also the business, the stakeholders no longer thinks, well, it's this 10% off is always possible, shit, I can do that myself. But, now the perception has changed, and I think personally that the value of procurement goes far beyond just negotiating prices. And let me give you a short example of that. People usually ask me if I should be involved when it comes down to commercials, payment terms, item prices, whatnot. And I say, no, please invite me earlier, not just because of the age-old topic of early involvement, but because I need to show my face. It has a strategic impact if I'm there, introduced as a procurement person, and that also goes away from pure cost cutting and just negotiating and pressing the last cent out of our vendors over to providing value. So once again, it is that we make sure we have enough sources for our company, right? Second source is a key term here. And quite honestly, I think after this crisis, this now might be the time where we as procurement are remembered in a more positive way, so to say. That actually, let me give you another example for that. Previously, I've been called by some of my colleagues, hey Phil, I need a new iPhone, I need a new laptop, and quite honestly, I'm a strategic procurement person. My response to that usually was, go ahead and buy one. That's not the kind of stuff I'm here for. But now people get back to me also in difficult situations and seeing and honoring my experience, asking for advice basically. And McKinsey, that's something I read just recently, published a study that mentioned 5 ways that procurement could strengthen this role, this new perception even further. And I add my thoughts and my insights and my views on these 5 things while we talk about that. So the first one is an obvious one. We've talked about this before, and that's basically to strengthen the supply chain resilience. And what this basically means is, as I said before, the Ever Given incident, whole factories shutting down, all of a sudden we cannot get parts anymore. We need to make sure as procurement that there is a constant supply of the crucial goods that we need. The second topic in McKinsey's study is that you might want to check your category strategies. What has worked in 2018, 2019, maybe doesn't work anymore today. For example, when you're working in a people-driven business, and by people-driven I mean if you buy services where people are acting, you're not buying parts but services. One drastic change from the crisis was now everybody's working remotely. In the past, we had long negotiations, and part of our strategy was to talk about travel costs. Not going into too much details, but that basically has vanished. Travel cost is no longer an issue, right? We do not talk about that anymore because nobody travels. And for the foreseeable future, I would say it will stay like this. So we might reconsider parts and maybe sometimes even our whole commodity and category strategy. The third point is something that is very important as well. It's not just pressing on the vendors, but it's also to develop partnership with your vendors, to form some kind of cooperation, because I think for the years to come, it will be more and more difficult to have all the innovation capabilities in-house. So you have to basically co-create. And yes, that's difficult. And yes, that has different requirements to how you deal with your suppliers. But I think it's really truly important that you constantly scan the market and also see who's out there, whose innovations you can leverage in a partner-like approach. So that's also one very important topic. The next topic is extremely dear to my heart, and you might have seen it from some of the other videos and more videos to come in the near future. And that is accelerate digital and analytics. My personal view is that any procurement role, any strategic procurement role from now on, not in the near future, but from now on, has to have decent data analysis capabilities. And that not only means like scanning the web, but also enhancing your know-how, increasing your know-how, how you can run automations to get more time, to free up some time, to run decent data analytics, to also do research, to basically run predictions. Where is your market going? Is there anything I can see? Are there any upfront measures you can take? So I really think that this is important. And throughout this ProcurementZen Experience series, we might cover some of these topics as well. And also on the YouTube channel, if you're listening to the podcast, you can find some nice tutorials about hands-on digitalization. And I think that's maybe hands-on is also a very important topic. Digitalization and analytics for me is not the next big ERP change rollout. That might be part of it, but quite honestly is giving us procurement people, the right tools in the hands so we can really do the work ourselves. We can combine our niche expertise with the analytics capabilities, and that's where digitalization really lives. And finally, the last and fifth point is adopt Agile methods. And yes, I know Agile is a buzzword, but quite honestly, shouting out and sending out huge policies just doesn't cut it anymore. We need to be agile, we need to adopt to the needs of our stakeholders, and that's why I personally believe getting to know Agile methods and also applying them to your daily life, whether using a Kanban board, whether being active in Scrum projects, etc., etc. That really is a necessity to leverage the new positive perception that procurement has gained over the past months. So, that was it for the very first episode of the ProcurementZen Experience. As always, please subscribe. You can also find the podcast version over at procurementzen.com/033. That's 033 for episode 33 of our podcast. The next episode will go live here on YouTube and our podcast tomorrow morning at the same time. Until then, always happy negotiation. Bye.